Pen is in. It's 9:04 my time. We are officially starting the Monday, March 28th IG Live, the Kevin E. Subject matter today, kind of a wrinkle on a theme, and I like it. Cross-referencing agent-manager contacts. And this has come up a ton over the years. This was a conversation, all of these conversations that I have with you guys, they were all conversations back in 91, 92, 93. The difference is that was an analog world, and now we live in a digital world. Non-linear, linear, linear, non-linear. Hey, Merrick. So the first thing I want to share with everybody before we get too far into this is why we would even do this, right? And again, for all my global thespians from around the world, it doesn't matter where you're an actor. I consider, as I continue to say, Sydney, Melbourne, no different than Dallas, Miami, or San Francisco. The bottom line is we say in life that familiarity breeds contempt, but you know what familiarity also breeds? Confidence. Because the contempt thing comes out of relationships. But one of the things that in a subjective profession, which this is versus objective, you need all the familiarity you can get, brah. This is like dating. It's why I say it all the time. We need all the info that we can get, if nothing else, just to help with good conversation and also with questions that are more poignant or specific for whomever our audience is, whomever the manager or agent may be that possibly calls us in, right? So the whole reason why you want to do cross-reference is so that you have a better understanding of the agent or manager you're pursuing and trying to get a meeting with and hopefully become represented by, that you have a little bit of understanding of not what their background is per se, but what their client's history is, which is their history as a representative. This is the why of why we would do this. That's the whole point, so that you're more prepared. I'm the Boy Scout guy, right? Be prepared. I'm always that guy when it comes to this. There's so much we can't prepare for just in life. Life is a partial information game. Hollywood is a double partial information game. So the more information you can have on people that you are trying to get a meeting with, holy shitballs, the better off you are. Oh yeah, Mel, it's coming, girlfriend. Don't worry. Trust me, I know you listen to the stuff we talk about. I'm just going to kind of run it down and break it down in terms of how you put it all together. So that's the why you do something. Defining the actual action, the task of the cross-referencing part is a combination, and will always be a combination for lots of research, of having an IMDb Pro account and or turning over a bunch of documents or instructions to someone who does, also using just the regular IMDb, which can be free, although you may have an account. If you don't, either way, that you can. And also, you guys, two other things that, again, we don't like but are imperative parts of this, which is both Google and also simply watching the credits on a show or film. See, back in the day in the Actors Network, we were way ahead of the game. We had this shit figured out way back in the early 90s. Imagine this. We had a whole bunch of power groups, and every single television season when things were a little more normal and you could count on when things start and stop, which is different now, we would take all the new television shows and all the pilots and we would break them up amongst everybody and we would record them, and we had a library of the shows in the Actors Network for members to watch. Okay, so we're past that era. We're past the linear analog. We're in nonlinear digital. Okay, cool. So you can pull up and look at any time you want on any show there is and see who cast it. And there's also services that will provide that information as well. So you're not without the tools in terms of the effort to do this. The question becomes, created your own Hulu. Yeah, exactly. So in terms of what you're trying to accomplish, this is a common question that Kevin used to ask agent managers all the time, because we get asked it. I mean, Brett's here. I can't blame somebody for sitting down with me and going, okay, Kev, who do you know? That's what an agent or manager would commonly do. Now, they could look at my resume and be able to see who's booked me, but if they don't have my audition history, they can't necessarily see who's read me, and even other people that I would even know. So now we're turning that script around back to the agent and the manager, right? So before we even meet with them, we can't necessarily see, they don't have a list that they're going to hand you before you show up. That shows all the people that they actually know, all the people that have auditioned their clients, and all the people that have booked their clients. You can't see that, but you can see what their clients have done, which is the reverse of at least the booking part. And so that's what we want to do. That at least gives you some idea of how well this person does. And you can probably imagine when you look across someone's client list based on different shows everybody has booked, it would give you an idea based on demographic, remember, age and type. You'd be able to pick up patterns. You could also probably imagine, I'm not a big assumption guy, but you can make a decent assumption that even though they may not have certain clients who book that show, but they've had other clients who book that show, chances are there's some crossover, natural crossover, on their client list of people who are getting auditions for the other shows. They just may not have booked them yet. So the first thing you want to do, now that I've got the philosophical part out of the way, which is what I will always present to you, is number one, you want to, whoever you've picked out that you want to find out about, go to their IMDb Pro, agent, manager, and gather as much information as you can on who their clients are. That's the first thing you want to do. And you can also do some of this, again, using Google and also other forms of research to determine. And we also can call SAG-AFTRA, in case you didn't know this. If you're an American actor, you can also call SAG-AFTRA and ask for 3 actors' names and get their representative from SAG-AFTRA. That is a service that the union provides union members. You can get 3 in one phone call. 3. Okay? So what you want to try to do is you want to try and take, let's just pretend you're going to pursue 10 agents and 10 managers. That's your target list, 10 and 10. And so this is work, guys. This is why actors don't do it. I'm not being a smartass. I'm just saying this is research work, man. This is game plan shit. Okay? So this is what you want to do. If you want me to elaborate on the phone call, Mel, you just have the ability to call the agency department to SAG-AFTRA. Please know, this is very simple. There's nothing to elaborate on. You can call the agency department and say, who's the agent for? Say the actor's name. Who's the agent for? Who's the agent for or representative? And they will provide you 3 in one phone call. Okay? Full stop. It's as simple as that, I promise. So that's that. So let's just pretend now that you've gone into IMDb Pro and you've identified 10 agents and 10 managers and you have their clients in front of you. Well, this is what you're going to do. Again, this is work, but it's real purposeful work. Because if then you just use IMDb regular and start plugging in actors' names, then you're welcome, love. Then what you can start doing is you start just looking at their credits. And you're slowly going to start looking at make a spreadsheet, right? Name of actor, credit, who's casting. Name of actor, credit, who's casting. Showrunner, producer, right? Boom, boom. And over the course of time, and it's going to take time, guys. This is an effort to do this. This is not, can't rubber stamp this. This is why we don't tend to do it. But it's incredibly invaluable when you start. Now, do start with, I certainly encourage people to start with doing the research on the clients that fall closest to you. I agree with you on that, okay? Because if somebody has a couple of Kevins who are working all the time, chances are, and it's not a Johnny Mathis song, chances are they're probably not looking for a me, right? But if I take someone, and I'm being fair with myself, if I take someone who's similar in age, and I think similar in, severe character to gorgeous lead, appropriate of where I think I fall, be it a person of color, or a female on their client list, now I'm going to go and start researching the jobs they've booked and be taking note of who casts those shows. And when you get done doing this with 10 or 15 or 20 representatives, you're going to actually have a pretty good idea of the people that this casting offices around your marketplace and how often they deal with this agent or manager. You have a good sense of that agent and manager's booking history, which means they probably have, try not to characterize it in terms of personal. They probably have a decent professional working relationship with that person. That's what you got. And so when you start to break that down, one of the things I don't want us to do is I don't want us to just dismiss someone because it looks like they have a lot of people of our type. The question is, are the people in your category that they have working? Because maybe they're looking to replace them. And this is where you got to be honest with yourself, guys. This is part of the trouble we run into as actors, is we don't want to admit where we're at. And I'm telling you, you got to admit where you're at. Hang on a second. Dawn, he said it worked well. I figured out who I was interested in. Yeah. Trying to. Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, it's not just about being on the roster. It's about being someone who's needed to fill a roster spot. That's correct. But also realize, guys, that you have people who may be your type visually when you find them on IMDb, and they look like they don't need me because they have enough of me. Well, two questions. One, is that person working at all recently? And or number two, which is, what if they do have somebody in your category who's working a ton, a series regular, somebody who's on a show all the time? Guess what? That means that actual type for them is not available for the kind of jobs you might be going up for. So they still may be looking to add somebody, if you're a fairly common type or a fairly needed type, of someone they already have on their roster who's working so much, they're never available. So you have someone who's not working at all, that may not be a conflict for you, similar type, and somebody who's working so much, they need another you. So be careful right off the bat, you guys, when doing this research and discovering who the agents and managers have as clients, and then you're going to go about doing your research on IMDb and or watching brief parts of the credits of shows to determine who cast that show, or using a service such as Casting About to determine the casting director. Be very careful between those two things, okay? Because one is just you trying to find out the booking history of their clients, and number two is you looking at their clients and trying to determine, and you should put them in order of priority, which ones look like they could really use your type versus just high, medium, and low, high, medium, and low, high, medium, and low, because we all run out of time. And this kind of work takes a lot of time. So you want to make sure you really, let's go out of those 20, you got to really make sure you get down to, say, 7 of those 20 who look like they would be really high priority targets for you based on their physical type, the work that they've done, and now you know all the casting people and who that agent manager. So think about this. I got your question, Paul. I'll get to it, I promise. When you walk into a meeting with somebody like that, this is two things about this. I would not recommend necessarily stating that in a note to somebody. Hey, I've done all the research on your clients and it seems like you really need me. Now, I'm being a smartass when I say that, but that is something I've seen actors write to people, and I just would avoid that. Trust me, they know what they need, and they obviously have way more information than you. The whole purpose of cross-referencing representative contacts is for you to have a idea of who their professional contacts are, which in the process of doing that will also allow you to have a medium assessment of their client lists and who they may or may not be seeking at that time. But like I said, it's partial information, y'all. We don't really know. All I'm trying to do is what I've always said is increase the likelihood. That's always been my goal with my community. Global Thespians Unite. Increase the likelihood. Utilize, maximize your time, maximize your efforts. That's the whole nine. Now, Paul has asked a question. Excuse me. I think a rain bug just flew in. How do you know what the industry needs? That's a very tough question, Paul, because now you're talking about a development question that goes outside of the inside of a show. For example, I literally, what is today? Today is Monday, right? Whew, I'll be okay. On Thursday, right before I left for Vegas, I got an audition, awesomeness, series regular, lead, NBC, pilot, half hour. Bingo, bango, right? So, to your point, Paul, I could look at that breakdown and I could tell you what the industry for that show is looking for. But that comes down from the development phase, and then, of course, once the show is up and running and we're in the position, and I don't want to get too far away from this subject matter, then it becomes what the show needs, which is kind of what I always call inside the snow globe of a show. So the most intelligent way to look at what types the industry needs is, with all respect, in general, if you're a basic ethnicity, and that's any one of the basic ethnicities, and you're of a certain age range, 20 to 40, and you don't, have crazy appendages, or you're not 9 feet tall, if you're not deeply unusual, then as we look across the course of 420 some television shows, I would just in general, Paul, be really comfortable with saying that most of the industry these days needs most basic types fairly regularly. But that's not the point of cross-referencing your contacts, so I don't want to get too far off subject, okay? The whole point of today's live is about you having the ability to go after an agent or manager meeting, knowing when you get the meeting kind of what their baseline set of contacts are based on their clients and based on what their clients have been booking and working on, and then cross-referencing those in one of several ways, from IMDb Pro to any casting service to using Google or research, and especially just looking at the show. Just pull it up online and watch the part with the casting credit, and you know who cast the show. Well, that manager agent had to deal with that casting office to book that client. And so let's pretend over here you see between these 20, these made up 10 agents and 10 managers that I've come up with, let's pretend that you keep seeing maybe 3 or 4 of the same shows on some of these people of a certain age. And then over here, you keep seeing 3 or 4 of the same kind of shows of people that are a different age and a different type. But here's what any good agent or manager is going to do, and you would do it too. I always put myself in their position. Well, Paul, if I just book somebody like you on a show, then I'm going to turn around a month later and I'm going to try to book someone like Alana on the show. She's not your type, but I just booked one of my clients on your show, so now hopefully you love me for that. Same thing. Completely different ethnicity, completely different demographic. If you get the cherry on the cake with one client, then you're going to try and take another client who may be completely different and also try to go through that door that now feels open because of having recently booked someone. That's why you can take a set of clients. I mean, think, you have 10 or 20, you have 10 agents and 10 managers. Let's just pretend for a moment, you guys, which I haven't even said to this point. Let's pretend that each of those 10 agents has 50 theatrical clients. 50, that's 500. Let's pretend the manager has 25, half. I'm just being generically fair, okay? So that's 250. That's 750 actors that I'm discussing, you researching, to cross-reference who that agent manager probably has a good professional relationship with. So like I said, just the mere thought of that is liable to cause you guys to want to go drink something that's stronger than coffee or put something in it. So there is a fair amount of work there. So maybe you're going to do this with 2 or 3 agents or 2 or 3 managers and not 20. Okay, cool. This is my whole thing. I'm scalable, you guys. I'm scalable. Nothing I ever talk to you about almost always is you have to do it this much, this how, for this long, all the time. No. Scale down your number of agents and managers to cross-reference based on you, based on your life, your career, and where you're at. The worst thing we can do, and I saw it all the time when the Actors Network was officially still open, is you don't want to bite off more than you can chew when it comes to the pursuit of the business of show business. That is a Kevinism. Please don't do that. Because unlike even other things in life where we bite off more than we can chew, this is something we will choke on very quickly. And not only will we choke on it quickly, unfortunately what I've discovered in my history is when we choke on the pursuit of the business of show business, we very quickly feel that we are now have a phobia about it or are allergic to it, and we stop doing it forever and or for a long time. And that is exactly anathema to what I'm trying to accomplish. I want us to nibble, take small pieces, intelligent portions, do them right, do them well, the first time, the second time, get really good at it, but keep it in proportion to your, as I would say, actor pie, right? To the actual time you have to pursue the business. Because the cross-reference agent-manager contacts conversation really, really takes an effort. And it's a wonderful effort. Shit, how cool. Just think back to when I was doing this, y'all. I started sounding like Sebastian Maniscalco. We got people. Just think back to when I was doing this. We didn't have all this shit. We didn't have all these tools, man. I'm out running around all over Hollywood trying to figure out, I'm talking to people at acting class, I'm talking to people at my waiter's job, like I'm trying to figure out how do you connect the matrix and the dots and the thing, and now it's all done for you. But you still have to do a certain amount of work. Still have to do a certain amount of research. Thank you, Sheeta. That's still the reality of this. You can't get around that. So I don't care whether or not you do this for one agent and one manager, don't care. Or you happen to have the enthusiasm and the brain power and the energy to do it for 10 each. I don't care. What I care about, as they like to use that keystone phrase, what I care about is that you at least do it the right way. And you do it for the right reason. And you have a solid outcome and a solid result so that you feel like, metaphor I used to always use, that you have loaded the gun of pursuit, just a metaphor, with really good bullets, really well done bullets that are going to be very, very positive and very, very productive in being able to accomplish targeting what you're trying to accomplish. Because man, you just can't replace, there are no words and there is no way I can put a value on what it is when you walk into an agent or manager meeting and you have stuff you have packed away in your back pocket, in the side and the thing about them and their career that you can just toss out as a sprinkle here and toss out as a sprinkle here, or you can just say something like, hey Tony Boldy, cruising in here in the last couple of minutes, brother, but it's good to see you. You can toss out, here and there that you say an actor's name. So I see that you represent so-and-so and they book blah, blah, blah. That particular casting director also casts, and let's pretend you say, a show that you feel like you'd be right for. And so when that representative sees you sitting across the desk from them, which of course is the entire point of cross-referencing agent-manager contacts, that you've taken the time to research one of their clients who works, and then you've extrapolated out that client did that show and that casting director cast it, but they also cast this other show that you might be right for, and then you say to them as an actor, so I'm just wondering if naturally you commonly use your previously booked other clients in ways like that with casting. When you ask a representative that question, man, that's somebody who instantly knows you're an artist, you're a professional, you want to make money at this, and you've taken the time to look at this as the way they have to look at their business. No one's going to jump up and down. There's not going to be any parades. They may not, go wee and, do a kazoo or something. But that shit stinks in, man. That just goes to show, and it doesn't matter what age you are. I don't care if a 19-year-old does that, a 24-year-old does that, or a 39-year-old does it. Don't care. It means that you've taken the time to assess the matrix of how the business works, because that's exactly agent, manager, cross-ref, contacts is exactly the phraseology we use of it's who you know, which is what I say to it's who knows you. But in this case, who do they know? And how can it be of service to you if you're a client? That's the whole point. So I do want to be clear that, this is not a walk in the park exercise. It's not a hard exercise. It's just a tedious one. And we sometimes, look, the Oscars were last night, and I know that all we want to do in general is play in the sandbox. And I get that. I'm a goofball. I'd prefer just to, be able to be playing all the time. It was so fun when I got the series regular audition because it was 4 scenes, it was 15 pages, it was comedy, and I was like, wee! Okay, well, you get your wee time, but you also got to get your business time. And so that's what this conversation is about, is going into the effort to create a meeting with an agent or manager, having a couple of really important salvos in your back pocket about what their client list says about who they know in the industry, and then extrapolating that out with a question or two perhaps in that meeting that's going to have what they know and who they know be helpful to you if good for you, Mel. Right on. 15 pages. Get on it, girl. Well, it's raining outside, so you can't go anywhere. You can't go hiking like you normally do. And so that's what you want. You want to be able to have, again, familiarity breeds confidence. If you're really familiar with who this agent or manager that you're trying to get a meeting with, who they know, that's a degree of confidence that leads to a couple of really cool questions, and probably a meeting, in my assessment, that they probably haven't likely had in a while. Commonly, representatives in meetings with actors feel sometimes like what I've seen a lot of in my life. Nobody get upset, just drawing my standard analogy to dating. When I've seen women and talked to women my whole life who say, geez, if I could just find a guy who can carry a conversation. Now, guess what? That's never been said to me, but because I'm a conversationalist. But I get their point. I have a sister. I understand this. Same thing for agents and managers. They don't want to have to carry the conversation. That doesn't mean you just talk the entire time. But understanding who their contacts likely are, because you've done this intelligent research on their client list, helps you help them carry the conversation for you both. And with that said, guys, it is right at 29 minutes for this live, so we're coming up on our 30. Thank y'all for all being here. If you're in LA, enjoy the damn rain. If you're not, hopefully the weather is lovely and getting better wherever you are. We will see you guys on Monday. And again, push your peeps to be here. Get everybody to go to the YouTube channel and subscribe. Please, 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 Mr. Please, don't play B-17. Yeah, okay. I'll get on with the Olivia Newton-John references now. All right, guys. See you guys on Wednesday. Bye-bye.